Hi everyone, I'm Eternity. This is baby Liam, and this is Dad.
Hey, I'm Jesse.
So this is our first video on our YouTube channel that I've been wanting to do since Liam was 6 months old, and bear with me, bear with us. This is our first time doing it. This is hot, my love. You'll definitely see what it is parenting here. Making sure everything is away from Liam, or giving him things that he could grab, or that he's okay grabbing without hurting himself. But there'll be a lot of errors or mistakes as our first video, but we just wanted to share a little bit about us, of who we are as individuals, and then who we are as as a family. So, do you want to start by saying what you when we found out we were pregnant, what you were doing?
I was doing a prerequisite class for Wildland Fire Academy that I'm trying to get into. That I was trying to get into. I just got home from class. We just got done doing this BIDL test, this killer fire test that firefighters take to see their physicality, to see where they're at, and it's timed. And I remember when I got home, just tired, drenched in sweat, just got off a 12-hour shift working on a 911 ambulance company. I see Trinity sitting on the couch, and I was like, smiling. I didn't know if she got me a gift or if something came in the mail or she won a lottery or something. So I go in the bathroom. Well, she tells me to go to the bathroom. And that's when I see 2 pregnancy tests on the counter. And once I saw it was positive, a man's first reaction is to be scared and to be nervous. To that's like the natural reaction in this generation of having a baby, someone under 20, 18, 19. But it was probably the greatest feeling from my point of view of not having a father. Mom was mom and dad, and trying to look for father figures and trying to look for a male role model. I knew that was the pivot point of, all right, it's time to be a real man. Time to put everything aside of being selfish and,
He's teething, guys.
Of, I guess you could say just, being a young, dumb decision maker, now being able every decision you make has to be not just for you, but for your family now. And it was exciting to know that as I pursue to be a firefighter, firefighters always have families, and they brag about being married for so long and brag about how many kids they have and how they have a nice stash and wearing that dope ring on the fingers, being married. So I was pretty happy knowing that I'm going to be a fireman and a family man.
So yeah, it was not planned, guys. It was definitely, I didn't even know I was pregnant. We went to a friend's wedding, and we were drinking away, dancing, and I was already pregnant. I had no idea. We went hiking to Nike Hill, and I was really trying to run up that hill.
Nike Hill is a hill that Rio Hondo College has towards the back of their college, and it's used for physical activity, PT for Police Academy, especially the Wildland Academy, since it's fighting a wildfire is like a marathon. So you incline as that all is, and taking her up there was I felt bad because you don't take someone up there that isn't really, I wouldn't say bad shape, but just not in the shape of incline is gonna be her friend.
It's hard, guys. It definitely, if you're not in shape, it's definitely a very challenging incline hill or
Mind
paved road to go up.
Yeah, and with weight, it's definitely a lot harder on your back. But mind you, she had no weight on. It was just a
Even
brisk
today,
walk.
I don't wear
It was
weight, but this
a
guy.
brisk walk.
Anyway, so I was pregnant, and then as he mentioned, I took two tests, and they were both positive. And this little guy was in my belly, and you always hear about women going through postpartum depression, and Jesse used to work in 911 company responding to 911 calls, obviously, when you pick up the phone and dial because your stomach's hurting or because you're throwing up or because some other kind of emergency. And he was on a part of a company that would work 24-hour shifts. It wasn't a 12-hour, it was a 24-hour shift. So he was gone all day, all night, till the next morning. To make means end for us, he definitely keeps the wolves away for our family. Even before we got pregnant, just as a couple, he's always been a good provider, and he would work maybe 2 days straight, 48-hour shifts, even up to one time a 60-hour shift straight. So, as I was mentioning, postpartum depression, everyone goes through that. You hear about it. You see people go through it, family members. And bear with me, guys. I will pause a lot because I don't want to cry. I'm not saying crying is a bad thing, but I am very emotional. I can say that. But I did go through prenatal depression. It's a real thing, women out there. I'm sure there are other women who have experienced it. And Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's of 2018 were the toughest. I love holidays, but they were the toughest because I was going through prenatal depression. I felt very lonely. Again, going back to Jesse was working 24 hours, 48 hours, just to make means and meet ends here at home and make sure he was providing. And as much as I understood that he was providing, I also wanted him home. I did, when I was 10 weeks pregnant, start getting morning sickness. But it was, the initials for it is HG, and it's a really hard word to pronounce. But what it is, it's the severe case of morning sickness. So what that means is that it lasts all day long. And in a healthy pregnancy, you're supposed to gain at least 20 to 25 pounds. And instead of me gaining weight, I actually lost a total of 40 pounds. I looked dead. I did not feel beautiful. I felt ugly. I loved that I was growing a human being inside of me, but me personally, the way I felt, I could not stare in the mirror. I couldn't look at myself because how I felt. It was very hard to even get dressed, take a shower. But I do have a great support system. My parents knew what Jesse's shifts were, how long they were, and they'd always reach out to me. They'd always come visit me. They had a house key for my house because sometimes I wouldn't answer my phone. It's not that I would hurt myself or anything. I just didn't want to get out of bed. I had a trash can next to my bed because sometimes I couldn't even make it to the bathroom, and in the sense of vomiting, and it was just the worst time of my life, to where we went to our appointment to hear our little baby's heartbeat. We didn't know it was a boy yet, and we went to go hear the heartbeat for the first time, and I felt, and I know I had the look on my face, and I had a blank face on, and I felt blank. Usually you hear when you hear your baby's first heartbeat for the first time ever, you cry. You're full of emotions, and I felt blank. I felt empty. But I knew it wasn't my fault. I knew it was what I was battling every day, how I felt, how it took so much energy for me to get out of bed and put clothes on to go to work. Yes, I was working still. My mom once told me if I was your manager or your supervisor, I would fire you because of the way you're coming into work. I don't know how I did it. But I did.
Your mom said that?
Yeah, she did. One time that she dropped me off. She was like, "Oh my God, Eternity, at least fix your hair a little nicer. You look like crap." And I was like, "I feel like crap. I don't want to be here, but I have no choice." And um, Jesse saw me go through all that emotion, and he'd blame himself a lot. He'd say that he felt horrible because he felt like he wasn't making me happy anymore. He felt like I wasn't happy to be pregnant, and just a lot of emotions coming from him. And maybe he can talk a little bit about it, but it was the toughest time. Yeah, it was the very toughest time that I went through, just to have this little boy. No, don't let him.
Sorry.
And this is shits and giggles. Dad here lets him do whatever the hell he wants. And I'm more like, no, you don't do that. You need to follow directions. And I think he wants milk. I still breastfeed. We're going on a year of breastfeeding. So, yay us. You want some milkies? Do you want some milkies? So, Jesse can probably tell you guys a little bit of how he saw me go through those emotions while he was working at McCormick, transitioning to soon starting his Wildland Academy.
It was pretty brutal. Being new to it, not knowing what she was feeling and what was going on through her head, but I could only assume. As much as I ask and try to talk to her about it, she kind of really closed herself off and tried to, tell me I'm fine, it's okay. It's just something that pregnant women go through. But mind you, I left my job. And going through this Wildland Academy, we went through a mandatory orientation that you had to attend to in order to get into the academy. And what sounded great about it was that they said I was guaranteed a job. Guaranteed a job. I was going to make money. And that's what caught my attention. Because I wanted to be a firefighter, but the municipal part of it, it's such a long process. They're very picky. They ask for a lot. From piggybacking back onto how she was being pregnant, it just sucked that I was going out trying to achieve my dream and goal. And here she was pregnant, carrying this beautiful baby boy we didn't, that we were going to bring to this world, and how she just looked like if she just came from Auschwitz. If literally, if I starved her, beat her, and told her she's not allowed to eat until I finish. That's how it seemed. And I'm not a person to put myself first. I've never been that way, even growing up. I was always taught, and I took it upon myself, you take care of your people, and your people will take care of you. And that's how I kind of went about it. And going through this academy and doing these classes, to get in there and knowing that she's pregnant, I felt like, man, she got her bachelor's, but I feel like I held her back from getting her master's. I just felt like it kind of sucks that I'm doing, something that I love to do, and she's here suffering, going to work, trying to, she's the one that's putting food on the table. And as a man point of view, that's always been the one providing and always been the one to to take care of your partner and provide, it's a big blow to the gut because, you know, you're not bringing anything in, but just going to school. I wasn't getting a Pell Grant. I wasn't getting any money financially. This was all out of my own pocket. We had a savings, and we relied on, taxes, and it sucked. I took money out of my 401k, everything I had from, McCormick, and just put it into all bills and everything that we needed to pay off.
Let's go back to being positive.
Yeah.
Anyways.
It's not about being negative. It's just the reality of having a child is not a one-man team. It could be.
Put him on the floor. Go play.
Women
sorry, guys.
can make it seem.
Go play.
Women make it seem so easy because, they're tougher than us men. But it was definitely hard to watch someone you love go through that and you weren't able to put them at ease. That's what I'm trying to get at. It was hard for me to do this, and she had to wake up just as early as me to go to work and deal with these kids that would verbally abuse her and wouldn't listen, and it was just hard. It was just really, really hard.
Very, very hard. And then congratulations to my love here. He did finish, and he is a wildland firefighter. And he is recently hired through the San Bernardino National Forest, right?
Yeah.
So he will be fighting fires this season out there. And where I want to go to after that is that he finished his academy, and
after all that, I didn't get a job right away.
No.
It sucked. After that, that's when everything decided. We thought since this ended, we thought things would be looking up, but it just took a turn for the worst at this point. This is where everything really fell and just crumbled. Like, that's when I was working at some IFT company that I hated. That's when she got, fired from her job.
No, that's after. Wait, so I was on disability. I got on disability leave April 30th, 2019, and that week that I got put on disability, I was having contractions. I was only 28 weeks pregnant, and I went to Beverly Hospital in Whittier, and I believe it's in Whittier, and I was monitored there for a whole afternoon. They gave me an injection to stop the contractions because it was very early for me to bring a baby into the world. Chances of survival were very, very low.
What are you doing in there?
And I was put on disability after that. And then 2 weeks after I was put on disability, my water broke. I thought what was almost 29 weeks. Sorry guys, I have a very, 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 very stubborn little boy. What I thought that I was barely going to be 29 weeks, I was actually 29 weeks and 5 days.
Hey.
So going on almost 30 weeks. And like I said, Jesse was playing video games, and I didn't feel good that day. I remember going to the hospital with, you want a snack? My younger brother was not feeling good. Okay, that's it. No more. I'm sorry, guys. You need to stop. I already gave you some milk. You need to stop. So, yeah, my younger brother was not feeling good, and I remember that day very clearly. I went to the Long Beach Children's Hospital with my mom to see what was going on with my brother, and I was fine. I remember I had something to eat, and I was feeling okay. I was having a little movement here and there, of the baby as normal. But then after the hospital, we had went to the grocery store, and then Jacob ended up being okay. But I came home, and for some reason I felt a lot of pressure, and it just didn't feel right. I had this instinct that I didn't feel right. And you look funny just staring at the TV.
Sorry.
And I remember Jessie was playing video games, and I was sitting on our little couch, and I said, I'm going to take a shower. I don't feel that well, so I'm going to take a shower. And did you just do the arm thing? That's a slight move. So I was sitting there, and I just said, like, I'm going to take a shower. I don't feel good. I got up, and he's like, why are you walking funny? I said, I don't know. I just feel a lot of pressure down there. And he's like, where? And I said, the vagina area. I just feel a lot of pressure. I said, but I'm just going to take a shower to see if I feel better. I was in the shower, and I couldn't take a shower because I was having contractions. I was literally like moaning, and like when you're going through a contraction, like, you know, trying to get through it. And I was standing up in the shower, and I was just like, I need to get out of here. Like, this feels weird. So I get out, and my sister is out in college in Vermont, Vermont, the state of Vermont. She calls me on FaceTime right after I got out the shower. Just what a coincidence. She calls me, and I tell her that I felt weird, and she's like, dude, what if your water breaks? Joking around. I said, no, you're crazy. Like, I'm only like 28 weeks. Like, no, like, I still have like 11 more weeks to go. And she was like, well, what would happen? Literally, I sat on the bed as she said, well, I'm just kidding. Well, but what would happen? I sat on our bed, and I just look up, like, just staring into the abyss, and then
Stop.
I was like,
what's the matter with you?
Okay, seriously, I'm not going pee on myself. And she's like, what are you talking about? And I said, there is water coming out of me, but I'm not going pee. And she's like, oh shit, your water broke. And then I said, and so I slipped off my bed, and I'm standing up, and sure enough, just a lot of water, coming out. And I immediately tell Jesse, babe, my water broke. There's a lot of water coming out of me. And he's like, what? No, you're kidding. He said, no, I'm serious. And so he came, and he was like, oh my God, your water did break. So then I called my mom, and I told her, Mom, I'm not going pee, but there's a lot of water coming out of me. And she automatically was like, you need to call 911. She's like overreacting in a sense of like, oh my God, but I got it, and I understood. She was scared. I'm her first daughter, so she was just scared, and she knew it was early. It was too early for my water to break. We called my mother-in-law, and the same thing. She was scared. She was like, what? No, they just knew it was too early, and I got rushed to the hospital. Funny story, the EMT that came to get me knew Jesse. I guess they worked together. I'm not too sure. But I remember the ambulance ride. The whole ride that I'm like, my water is finishing, rupturing. And him and his partner are trying literally on both arms, one on my right and one on the left, trying to look for my veins to start an IV. And the whole ride to Whittier Presbyterian Hospital, he's like, oh my God, Jesse is so cool, and Jesse is such a great guy, and Jesse this and Jesse that. I literally squeezed his hand, and I said, my water broke, and I'm about to have a baby, and you're talking about Jesse? You need to stop. And I said, because I am hurting here. I am going through pain. And he was like, oh, I'm so sorry, miss. And I said, seriously, just focus on what you need to do. And I'm having another contraction. And he's like, okay, you can squeeze my hand. And I said, no, it's okay. So I just grabbed onto the gurney. We got to the hospital, and yes, sure enough, my water bag did rupture. For the next 48 hours, was drugged up. They gave me steroids for Liam's lungs. They did an ultrasound to find out exactly how far along I was, and that's when they told me I was 29 weeks and 5 days. So my due date that I thought, which was that my OBGYN had told me, was July 25th. And it was early July instead of the end of July. And yeah, so the first 48 hours in the hospital, I was very drugged up, and I remember my nurse would come in, and I thought what I was looking at her, and I was actually seeing double. So she was in front of me, but I was looking this way, and I thought she was talking to me because I seen her here, but everyone told me she was here, and it was the worst feeling. I don't know what they gave me. Obviously, it's on my paper, my medical records, but there was one medication that makes you feel so hot, like your body is just on fire inside. If us women, we go through that when we go through when we're going through like our periods, or when we have at a certain age. What is it called? What is it called when women? I had it at the top of my head. When women are older and they go through menopause. There it goes, menopause. They have the hot flashes. Well, hot flashes are just like you feel sweaty and you're hot. No, this is how I felt those first 48 hours in the hospital. My body was on fire. I had the AC on. I told them they needed to put it down, like where it needs to be colder in the room. They brought a big fan to connect on the wall for me. And I remember when I was like sober, where I wasn't medicated, I remember Jesse and my mom were like, it was fucking freezing in here. And I was like, I just felt hot. And then the third day I was told, so my water broke May 15th. By May 18th, that Sunday, my water broke on a Thursday, I believe it was. And they came to tell me on Sunday that I was going to stay in the hospital. That, yes, my son was in the canal. Yes, my water bag was completely ruptured. Everyone, my mom, number one, my mother-in-law, everyone else asking, if her water broke, why is the baby still in there? There's no liquid. All her fluid came out. We were told that the babies actually make more fluid with their pee, which was hard to believe, but that's what they were saying. And there was 10 OBs in that hospital floor, and I saw all 10. I was in the hospital for a whole month, pretty much. Just in bed rest. I had a potty next to me, a little toilet, where I couldn't walk to the own restroom in my hospital room. My hospital room only had a window that could not be open, obviously. I didn't know, fun fact, that hospital windows they don't open. I didn't know that. So it's just the looks. The windows are just there for looks, or to let light come in. But I couldn't walk to the restroom because their fear was that Liam was very small, and he was only weighing around like 2.5 pounds, and he can slip out of me if I walk to the bathroom. So they only allowed me to stand up and turn around and use the restroom, and I would have to call my nurse to come throw out my feces or my urine when I went to the restroom. And don't turn it on, he's going to get sick.
I put it on Money Saver so it turns off.
No, but he's standing there and he's going to get cold.
No, he loves.
Sorry, guys. It's just the AC. Liam is so, like, he loves that thing. I don't know why. Like, and we have to turn it off and have to suffer in heat because he just wants to be in front of it. He's hilarious. But anyways, yeah. So I stood in the hospital for a very long time. It felt like an eternity. It was horrible. Mentally, I thought I was going to go crazy. There was a lot of times that I just wanted to yell and I just wanted to scream and just get out of there and go outside. But I couldn't. And that was my reality. And I learned that whoever made up the weeks of the days with like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, they came up with cool names because time is of the essence in there, where you want time to go by fast, but every day has the same amount of hours and it just has a different day. So we know that once Friday comes, it's hello weekend, and then Monday through Friday afternoon, it's work, 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 work. But for me, it was just sit, wake up, do the same thing, have breakfast, have lunch, try and take a nap, but I didn't want to, and have anxiety up the roof, and just not feel like myself. Then
Hold on.
June 2nd came, their plans were June 2nd, when I turned 34 weeks, for me to get induced. And I did. I lasted. That Friday, they finally let me go outside and get 15 minutes outside. 15 minutes. After almost 17 days of not getting any fresh air outside. And Jesse was working, so there were nights that he had to work the night shift, and he, excuse me, sir, you can't touch the computer. And I had my mom stay with me those nights. My mother-in-law would come visit me during the day. She'd bring food. I'm very picky. I don't like a lot of things, and my mom knows that, so I appreciate my mom very much because my mom was there every day at the hospital. My sister came home from school for the summer, so she was like watching my younger brother, but my mom was at the hospital all day long with me for a good like week and a half. Like, no, I think 2 weeks and a half. But she was bringing me food. She would go home and sleep, and she would bring me food for the whole next day. So she would bring me breakfast that she would make at home, and then she would make me burritos of things for lunch, and then for dinner it was always that my dad, I loved watermelon. Watermelon with lemon was like my favorite thing. Like because like before my water broke is when like my morning like the sickness I had like started to ease off a little. So when I was in the hospital, it was completely gone. I had a few days that I would throw up, but it was all the medication that I was on. But watermelon with lemon was like my thing. Like, oh, it was just amazing. And every time after work, he would bring me from the fruit men that are like on the street, like on the sidewalk selling fruit and stuff. And he would bring me a whole like plate thing of like watermelon with lemon for me. And then usually he'd come and see what we all wanted for dinner, because at that time my sister would come with my little brother, and even though he was born and stuff, they would come hang out in the room with me. Because my room wasn't considered a labor and delivery room yet. It was more like a prenatal like stay at the hospital. So I was able to have visitors and stuff. So we would decide what we wanted for dinner every day. And I know it was like a lot of money that was spent, but I'm very fortunate that they knew I didn't like the hospital and I wasn't going to eat the hospital food. So they did whatever they had to do to make sure that I was eating, my breakfast, lunch, and dinner and snacks here and there. And Jesse definitely would go out and buy me my other cravings, like an ice cream one time, an ice cream cone. I devoured it quickly. So it was a very tough time in the hospital that I went through having my first child. I got induced. That was a long process. That was a whole 24 hours of getting induced and then going into active labor. And that in itself was like my room turned into a labor and delivery room, so I couldn't have any visitors. The only ones that were in there were my mom and Jesse all day long. My grandma did come from Arizona at that time, so I asked my nurse, who was very nice, if I can have my grandma in the room for a little while because she did come from Arizona. And my mom left for a while, so my grandma stayed with me. Jesse went home to shower as he did other days. And I was there with my grandparents. And then my mom came back, and about 4 p.m. on June 2nd, I was dilated enough for them to give me the Pitocin, I believe it's called, to start actual real labor contractions, to start dilating more. And so after that, it was just like I was bouncing on a ball to try to get myself to open up more, like dilate more, and hoping that, I didn't have to keep getting this pill that I was having to induce me, like to start the process. So definitely bouncing on the ball helped, and Jesse helped me. He was rubbing my back while I was doing it. And I kept telling him, like, I feel like when I'm bouncing, like a watermelon's like hitting me inside, but it was Liam's head. And about, I want to say 8 o'clock, I was like, babe, I can't do this. I was crying, and I said, this is hard. I can't. I had 5 hours without any medication at all of just having contractions. And Jesse was just standing there next to me, holding my hand, telling me it was going to be okay. And then I had my mom on the other side telling me that I can do without medication. And I just started crying, and I got mad, and I was like, I can't do this. And the nurses kept coming in telling me I needed to stop pushing every time a contraction came, because then I was going to have to go into emergency C-section and all this other stuff. And it scared me. So I definitely just looked at Jesse, and I was like, babe, I can't do this. I need medicine. I need the epidural. I can't. And so I called my nurse in, and I just told her, I need epidural. I can't do this. I need help. So Chrissy was her name, and she was like...
Is that the one with the little, like, 40s greaser glasses? The blonde one?
No. This was Chrissy, the one that delivered Liam, the nurse.
The doctor?
The nurse, no. The doctor was a different doctor. Chrissy was the nurse that was my nurse for the night.
Mm.
I had her before.
Oh, the Hispanic lady.
Yeah. So I told her, Chrissy, I can't do this. I need epidural. She's like, okay, well, you definitely have to stay still, though, okay? Because the guy that we have that's giving the epidural, what do you call them? The anesthesiast doctor. He's very, like, precise and, like, to the point, and you got to follow what he says, and you got to verbally approach him. Like, if he tells you something, you got to verbally answer him, not just or nod your head. So she put in that order, and, like, maybe 30 minutes later, he knocks on the door, and he comes in. He's like, hi, and I'm going through contractions. At that point, my contractions were, like, 5 to 7 minutes apart. And he got everything set up, and it was the most challenging thing, because I was like sitting on the side of my bed leaning forward, and Chrissy was holding my hands, and she was telling me, like, just don't move. And I probably had like 3 contractions as he was putting the epidural in, and that was hard. That was hard to, like, not move and just kind of just sit there and not, like, tighten my legs up or not, like, hold on to something. I was just squeezing my nurse's hands as hard as I can, and she was like, she even told me, like, you have a strong grip, like, you're holding my hand really tight. And I said, yeah, because that hurt. Once I got the epidural, I didn't feel anything, but I did feel really shaky, and I was shaking, like, nonstop, and I went numb from my belly button down. I could not feel anything. I had dead legs. You would touch me, and I didn't, like, touch my belly, under my belly button, or, like, my thighs, and I did not feel it. It kind of did slow my process down of dilating, but it also made things harder. They came in because they saw Liam's heart rate start going down and his oxygen. And so they came in and they were like, we need to change your position. So for like an hour and a half, they came in and they started changing my position to try and
Damn it, Liam.
Stop. To try and make like his oxygen go back up and his heart rate. It worked for like that hour and a half that they were doing it. But then at some point, Chrissy was just monitoring him, and she was like, "Oh no, like we need to start pushing." Doctor came in to see me, and she was like, "She's not dilating enough. Like let's wait. Let's see if she dilates a little more." So then she's like, "But yeah, we are gonna be like bringing a baby in soon. Like we're gonna be delivering a baby." So that was scary because I was like, "Oh my God, it's gonna happen." But we were just sitting there. Jesse was watching. You were watching Park and Recs, right? He was watching Parks and Rec on Netflix. My mom, she was so nervous that she kept like hitting Jesse like on his arm, and then she even got the pillow. Like when Christy came back in and was like, "Oh no, I think we're gonna have to start pushing baby pretty soon. Like he's not looking that great, and mom's not either." And I remember I turn around and my mom gets the pillow and she smacks Jesse, and Jesse goes, "Why are you hitting me?" But after that, like, yeah, sure enough, Chrissy, I was only open 8 centimeters. And she called in all the nurses and the doctors, and that room got, like, full of nurses and my one doctor in, like, 0 to 100, like, super quick. And Jesse was, like, super nervous, and I was like, oh, my God, this is about to happen. So, yeah, they set me up. I was already had oxygen on me, like, had the oxygen mask. And Jesse and my mom were on my right leg, and I had the other nurse on my left. And, yeah, the doctor was like, okay, here we go. Like, every time we see a contraction, we're going to push. And I remember I didn't feel Liam coming out. That's the only thing about the labor part that I didn't experience. I didn't feel me pushing him and him, like, coming through my vagina. I didn't.
I was literally like
Jesse was watching everything and
bending her.
He was like,
this baby out.
And then I remember he was like, "We've been here a month already. I'm tired of this. Do you want to go home or do you want to stay here longer? You better push." And I was like, oh, I just wanted to rip his face off when he said that. I was just like so mad because it was like, I'm trying to push. Like literally the doctor and the nurses were like, push like if you're going poop. Well, I need to feel that. Like, you need to, like, be able to feel your bottom and, like, your legs for that. And I couldn't feel it. So I was really trying. I was really trying my hardest. And they were like, you're doing good, Mom. You're doing good. Keep going, keep going. And Jesse's like, he's right there, but he keeps going back in. Like, you need to push a little harder. And I would push, and, like, I would, like, take the oxygen off, and I would push, and then they would put the oxygen back on, and then give me, and he's asleep, guys. He's out. And and then at 2:45 in the morning, I started pushing at 2:15 in the morning, and at 2:45, I heard a little cry come out of me. Jesse saw it. My mom saw it. My mom was in shock. I have a niece and nephew, but she wasn't in the room when they were born. This was the first time my mom was exposed to that, like where she saw, like, her first daughter having a baby, and she was in there. She was throughout the whole process there for me, and she went into shock. She went into shock after Liam coded. So Liam coded, guys. The umbilical cord was wrapped around his neck. The doctor slipped it off, and I only got a glance at him. I didn't really get to experience your baby being born, dad cutting the umbilical cord in front of you, and the baby being passed to you. I just saw him in a glance, and he got sent to the little that little bed, the little incubator. And Jesse can tell you from there because it's a blur to me.
When Liam was getting he was getting intubated. Well, I wouldn't say intubated. Well, yeah, he was getting. They were breathing for him, manually, and luckily he still had somewhat of a pulse. It was faint, but he was definitely going into respiratory failure, and he stopped breathing. Not for so long to where he lost oxygen to the brain, but they were able to still keep his lungs working, and then that's when they got him to the incubator, and they intubated him right away, put him on a BiPAP, and that was it. I can remember a nurse just rubbing my back, telling me like, he's gonna be okay. He's gonna be doing just fine. He's working. He's fighting. Must get it from his mom and dad. And I was just telling that nurse like, you better do your fucking job and give 100%, and there better not be one thing left that you could have not done to do for my kid. I know I may just be an EMT, which is just the basic life support, but when you're around paramedics and RNs and you know what they're capable of, and you've seen the difference between complacency and the people that are the reason why they're there for the right reason, you know what's expected. And I was expecting, a very, very high level of care. After that, I called Eternity, and I told her, he's good, I'm here, and
I was on the bed still.
Yeah.
And I remember, it's a blur to me, but the only thing I remember is looking straight ahead of me, and Jesse has his hands as if he's praying, and tears coming down his face, and I just remember, Lord, you didn't just make me go through all that to have a baby and take him away from me, so please, 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 Lord, just do whatever you have to do to put your hands, guide the hands of these doctors that are touching my son that I didn't get to feel, I didn't get to hug, I didn't get to do skin to skin right away with. Just please guide them and let them save my son. And I just remember them telling Jesse that they were taking him to NICU. They did bring him by my bed, but they just put it down, and I was able just to touch his little hand. And I remember telling him, I love you. And they did take him away. And I told Jesse, I looked at Jesse and I said, you need to go. You need to go with them. I'll be fine. You just need to go and make sure he's okay. And let him know that his dad's there. And I remember I cried. That's when, my mom had her, where she went into shock when Liam stopped breathing, and she was scared, as we all were. But she went numb, and I had the nurses take her down to the ER. My nurse and my doctor did come in, and they did tell me, you didn't get your moment as a mom with your son being a premature baby and having the respiratory failure when we brought him out. But you did great, Mommy. And my doctor did tell me your vagina looks great. You didn't rip. He didn't rip you or anything. And they told me that I'm going to have a little fighter. And I remember they got everything ready to take me upstairs. And I was texting Jesse, how is he? Send me pictures. But I know Jesse was taking in the moment with his firstborn. But at the same time, he was taking in that moment, I wanted him to be upstairs with me too. It's not because I was being selfish, but because I needed my partner. And throughout the whole time at the hospital, Jesse was there every day. But men go about things a different way. Their emotions, they don't really like to talk about their emotions. Am I right?
Depends.
It depends on the person, but when you're under stress, when you're under
I think
a lot of emotion, Jesse was escaping with watching videos that would make him laugh, um, on YouTube or Netflix. And there were times that I wanted him near the bed when I was going through contractions before I got induced.
Well, there was a lot going on.
There was a lot going on,
There
but
was some
I don't
drama.
want to touch
I know.
about that. There was a lot going on.
But you have to understand. But you
But
have
I
to
am
tell
grateful.
it wasn't me. Just
No,
I didn't want to
it
be
wasn't.
there. Or I
No,
didn't
no,
want
listen. So it wasn't that he didn't want to be there for me. It was just that there was a lot of
let's just say
like
there's
not
just
awkwardness, but like tension between various people in the room. But that's for that to talk
that's
about.
neither here or there. It's just
Yeah, it's just there was a lot that there was times where I did want Jesse to be there, like mentally with me, but he was dealing with his emotions a whole different way than I wanted him to, or I wanted him to be there, and I was a little not jealous, but just I kind of didn't like that he was able to. Obviously, he wasn't the pregnant one, but I didn't like that he was able to get up and leave because he didn't want to be in the room anymore, because he didn't want to be in four walls and just be laying in the bed watching Netflix on his phone or like playing a game or whatever. Like he actually wanted to be outdoors, go on a hike because that's what he was, training for. So I was a little like not. I don't know if the word bothered or not. I wasn't upset. I just didn't like that I was bothered that he was able to do that and I wasn't. So when going back to like I'm telling him to go with Liam. It was about 6 in the morning when he came upstairs to my room, to my new room in the like postpartum like upstairs, and he showed me pictures. He was tired. We were up all day long, all night, pretty much a whole 24-hour. Like we were up, and I remember him telling me he's okay, he's stable, and I went to sleep, and I woke up about 12:31 p.m. They brought soup. I had a catheter in still, so they told me that they were going to see if it's okay to take the catheter out and then I can go meet my son. So that felt like an eternity because it took forever. You guys know how hospitals are. They take forever. Nurses like to chit-chat in the pit and they don't come check on you even if you ring for them and all of that. So that took a while, but definitely I told them I was ready for them to take it out because I wanted to go meet my son. And I had told Jesse, you cannot take anyone in there as a visitor before I go meet him. Like, you already met him, but I don't want you to take anyone else in there until I meet him. And I remember when I met him, my mother-in-law got there to the hospital with my brother-in-law, and she came because she wanted to meet the baby. So I let Jesse told me, we went down to the second floor and he said, why don't you go in? So he didn't want to, he was like, I told him, no, why don't you come in with me? And he was like, okay, I'll go in. And we let his mom come in with us. And I met Liam and I couldn't help but to cry because my baby was breathing with a machine, like a breathing machine was like breathing half him and half the machine. And I just remember his little chest just going in really deep. And the nurse was talking to me, and to be honest with you guys, I did not hear not one thing the nurse said. I didn't, that I had to ask her before I went upstairs to repeat everything she told me because I was just focused on my son. I was focused not on how beautiful he was. I was focused on just praying for him. I knew I had named him Liam for a reason, and Liam actually stands for a warrior. And let me tell you guys, he is a fighter. Right, babe?
Oh yeah.
This little boy is a fighter, and our journey as preemie parents began. He stayed a whole month in the NICU. Jesse was working. He was working day shift.
Yeah, I was
Working day shift in the morning, 12-hour shifts, and I was the one at the hospital.
Well, it was like midday, and then got off like at 10 or 11.
Yeah, I would like around noon.
Because I'd start at 10 in the morning, and then I'd end at 11.
Yeah.
Oh, no, 10 to 10.
But by the time you got to the hospital, it was like 11. Sometimes, and then if he worked at noon or 1 or 2 is when he would get off at 1 or 2 in the morning, and I was at the hospital. I was at the hospital every day. I would try and get there before 10 a.m. when the doctors had their rounds to ask questions, to know what's going on with Liam. And yes, 5 times in that month, Liam had episodes of where his heart rate dropped and his oxygen dropped. And he was intubated once, which was the second day after he was born, or that night of. Because they wanted to give his little body a rest because he was breathing too hard. And he was on the CPAP machine. And as a couple, being preemie parents for the first time, between me and him, it was hard. We were not only going through a financial crisis, but emotionally, we were mad. We were upset at the world. I didn't want to hear anyone. I had asked my mom to tell everyone to stop texting me. If I had an update and if I wanted to share, then I would. But if I didn't, then I didn't. I didn't want to talk to no one. I didn't want to be in tune with no one. I would cry every time I left the hospital. Every time Jesse would pick me up and bring me home, I'd cry. I didn't want to leave, but I couldn't stay the night there. I could be there till 3, 4 in the morning, but if I would fall asleep, they would tell me to leave. I couldn't sleep there. But I didn't want to leave. And it was the storm that I never thought would end. I thought, how long are we going to be here? This feels like forever. I made friends in the NICU with other preemie parents, and hearing their story and understanding each other was a little help. But there was times where Jesse was off, and he didn't want to spend his whole day at the hospital. He would be like, but now a whole year later, I understand why he didn't want to spend a whole day in the hospital. I understand that he wanted me to get rest. He wanted me to be at home for a little longer and just go visit Liam maybe for 3 hours and then come home. And I'd get mad. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I'd get mad because I didn't spend my whole day at the hospital with my son. But now I understand why Jesse would do that. Why Jesse would say, let's just go around this time and come home at this time. When it was in the moment, I thought he just wants to lounge at home and play video games or watch his shows and not come to the hospital. Maybe he doesn't want to be in there because it is boring. There's nothing to do, and we're just sitting there on a chair, and I'm feeding Liam, because I was trying to get him to latch, and there was times where they would let us change his diaper, and other times they wouldn't, So I was just seeing it like he doesn't want to go. He doesn't want to go. I don't know why he doesn't want to go. He doesn't understand that that's my baby, and I want to go with my son. But I completely understand him now because I didn't have a break. I was numb for a whole month inside. I didn't know what to do with myself. I just knew I got to go to the hospital and feed my son. I'd see the nurses and the only time the babies get picked up in the NICU is when it's time to get a diaper change, like 5 minutes before their feed. They'd get picked up to get fed, a bottle fed, and then burp them, and then put them back. So if a baby is like fussy even after they eat, and a baby's wide awake after they eat, there was no interaction by the nurses. And me seeing that with other babies, I just knew I don't care how long my baby is in this hospital, but I will be here every day to be there for my son and be the one to feed my son. And if he's awake, to talk to him and to nurture him and to give him love and hold him. And there were times that the nurses would tell me to put him down, but he's my son, and I didn't listen. I would let him sleep in my arms. I would let him just like be able to smell me. We had a very awesome nurse, Chris. He was
Filipino.
amazing.
Thought he was gay.
Yeah, we thought he was gay. Turns
He has a
out
wife.
his wife was the same NICU nurse in the same NICU we were at. They would work the same shift, and she was our nurse. Like I think
You think
twice.
it would be a conflict of interest, but
It's not. I don't know. It works different, I guess. But they worked the same shift so that they had the same days off. They were too cute. They didn't have no kids.
they went on vacation too.
Yeah, they would always go on vacation. They had no kids, so they loved working in the NICU because they'd see all the babies.
Probably that's why they didn't want to have kids dealing with them. They're like, yeah.
Probably. But I remember he was Liam's nurse, and look how precious he looks sleepy. He's such an angel.
If you watch his mouth closely, he still dreams of the nipple. Oh, there it goes.
Yep. Oh, my baby.
Just put a mustache.
He said,
pretty funny.
oh, so how was skin to skin? Well, he was like getting Liam's like tube feeding, because Liam was eating through a tube when his muscles in his jaw were a little weak, so he couldn't last a whole feed on a bottle. So they would try a few times for a few minutes, and then if they saw that he was yeah,
It wasn't through.
it wasn't stomach or
it wasn't,
anything. It was through the nasal. Like he had a little tube down his little nose, and they would finish the feed through the nose. And he was like, "Oh, so how was skin to skin?" And I was like, "Oh, I have not done skin to skin." And Liam was about to turn 3 weeks, and he was like, "What? Are you kidding?" And I said, "No, I'm serious." So he was like, "Oh no, we're doing skin to skin."
Who?
Chris.
Oh yeah.
And he's like, "Okay, mommy, I'm gonna go get you the kangaroo shirt, and you're gonna do skin to skin for an hour." I was nice enough, because I knew how bad Jesse was dying to feel his son, that I told the nurse, I'll just do 30 minutes. Mind you, my first time ever. But I didn't want to be selfish, and I shared the moment with Jesse.
It didn't bother me if you're going to do an hour.
But I shared the moment with him. And so I did 30 minutes, and then Jesse did 30 minutes. And feeling my son for the first time was the best. The best. Unconditional love that I've never felt. I want to protect this boy with my whole life. Like, I will do anything. I would cross the 7 oceans for this little boy.
Hold him? Is it hurting now?
No, it's okay. He is my everything. He knows me inside out. He knows what my heart sounds like. He is just everything I pictured. He is literally the little boy I dreamed when I was pregnant. And
like he looks like what you dreamed.
He is a little white boy. Little white. His hair is a little blonde and just white complected. And I just love him. I love him more than words. I don't have words to explain how I feel, but I'm very attached to him, and he's very attached to me. I know a lot of it has to do because we breastfeed. So we've been breastfeeding in 2 days, we'll be breastfeeding for a whole year already. It is tough to breastfeed and pump and work and bring home milk so that he drinks milk. I tried formula, the closest to what is to breast milk, for one bottle. It wasn't even a day. It was just one bottle one time when he was 3 months to see, just in case if I didn't have a lot of milk. Um, and he didn't like it. So I started drinking a lot of things to try and get me to get a lot of milk.
A lot.
So, anyways,
Always experimenting.
before we get to that, we did skin to skin, and then it was like Liam needed skin to skin. It's like he needed to feel us. Because after that, he excelled in everything. He got the blue light off. He got the IVs off. He was doing better on the CPAP machine. He was just doing amazing. Amazing that he was doing. He did fail his first car seat test, but then we because he had a little episode where oxygen was dropping. So we're like, nope. They're like, nope, we got to get him out. So they got him out the car seat. Then 5 days later, a week later, he did it again and he passed it. And then we were getting ready to go home. Jesse was at work when I brought him home. My mom was out of town, so my mom needed to get out of town. She needed a stress reliever. I was scared, but my sister brought me home with our little one, and it was scary. It was scary bringing a baby home. I don't think I slept that night because I was scared. Like, I just, even up to today, when he's taking a nap, it's almost a whole year, but I still go and make sure he's breathing.
I wasn't as scared because I knew how you were. Honestly, it's weird. It's not weird to say this, but you and your personality and your character and how you were raised, you, without a doubt in mind, you were going to be a perfect mom. Like, you were going to be spot on what needed to be done, how and what to do in case this happens. I had no doubt in my mind that you were going to be great and do fine. I know it was scary because we didn't know if he was breathing or not. That was the only thing that she was worried about. Is like, how is his breathing? Is he breathing? She was just very like on edge of.
All I heard at the hospital was those machines. Like, that was like a second nature sound to me already. Like, a whole month of hearing machines go off, and sometimes it wasn't even Liam's machine going off. It was all the other babies, but I would automatically look at Liam's, like, make sure everything was okay. Not only did Jesse, but even the nurses showed me how to read the machine, like what numbers meant what and where they need to be and stuff.
Yeah, because she was scaring herself. This is where we had a problem at the hospital, just in general, because she would try to read the contraction monitor. She would try to read, oh my God, what's the blood pressure? What's the O2 sat? What's the respiratory rate? It was just, when EMS, worried. What we call Hispanic panic, called HP.
Whatever.
And it was a huge case of it, and just, oh my God, what do we do? What's that? And that's where I would tell her, you got to stay away from it because you're getting too much involved that isn't in your hands.
Guys, he'll never understand, or women, he will never understand what it is to be a mom.
And you'll never understand what it is to have someone's life in your hand and actually know what is normal from abnormal.
He's so funny. You're funny.
No, you're it's funny. Just I'm being.
Funny.
I'm being realistic in the point
I understand.
of. That's no. Look at. The point is, when Liam came home, I knew you were going to do great.
Thank you.
And worrying about if he was breathing or not, that's where they wouldn't send us home if it wasn't safe. And that's where we did stay up all night. We made sure he was breathing. The only thing I was scared is the whole wrapping him up. And
like a burrito.
I understand.
It's the swaddling, guys.
I know
Some babies
swaddling.
like it.
I know,
Some babies
I
like
know it's
it.
good, but the scary part about it is that kids, babies, they move. They move a lot. And my biggest fear was she's going to want to swallow him. And oh my God, like, what if this baby turns on his side or moves? And it was more of my fear of, like, I wouldn't want to do CPR on my own kid, and God forbid something happens, and I wanted to be home every day because I knew she was scared. But I knew without a doubt in my mind is that she was going to be great. It's just, coming. I was just scared for her being too extra.
I'm a mom.
That's all I was just nervous about. Was that
and your mom's watching this?
She's just.
Will understand.
She's a by the book type person.
I am.
And sometimes I've learned it as a healthcare provider. There's book smart and then there's street smart. And 90% of that book smart isn't always by the book. It's crazy and weird. It doesn't make sense, it sounds, but swaddling, he hated. He hated swaddling.
He did.
He hated a lot of things that you were supposed to do for a newborn. And Eternity was just trying to pound it on him. And he was just like, no,
he was the boss.
No, you're not going to tell me what to do. You're not going to make me do this. You're not going to do that.
As a Nick, you told me once, Liam is the boss here, and he determines when certain things come off of him. I mean, we knew he was a fighter when we got to the hospital one day, and then the nurses were like, oh my God, Liam here, Mr. Handsome. They would call him Mr. Handsome, or the boss, or they would call him all these little nice names, and everyone said, all the nurses thought he was the cutest, most handsome baby in the NICU. And I remember they were like, we've been poking him in different areas for his IVs because he's been pulling them out. And I was like, what? My baby is pulling an IV out? Like, how? And yeah, every time we got there, like a few times, the IV were like in different places. And they were like, yeah, Liam is just, we have to put this, and we have to put they put like a little sandbag type of little buddy in there. And they were like, yeah, we need to put this so that he doesn't get to the wires. And I was like, oh my God, we're going to have a little fighter here. And he had a little lovey doll, and he loved his lovey doll. Sometimes I let Jesse put it on his chest. But for the most part, when he was in the hospital, and even when we came home, I would always wear it. The hospital made it for him. And I would put it in between my breasts, and it would get my smell. So when I left in the night, he would lay down with it, sleep with it for the night, and he would sleep comfortable. I had a few pictures where he was actually hugging it. Even when we came home, I'd still do it, and he would hug it a lot. And so, yeah, our journey began at home, and I think for the first 2 months of when we were home, we didn't really go anywhere. We didn't let a lot of people come visit, only because we were told that they're like the most critical 2 months as a preemie coming home.
Well, the doctor basically says that he needed to be familiar with just mom and dad.
Yeah, and like for his safety, like not a lot of people like to use hand sanitizer, and now that we're in this pandemic and everyone's using hand sanitizer, but yeah, so our journey started, and we've been watching him grow every day. I take pictures and I take videos every day. People may think I'm crazy for doing that, but I just want to see my son change, his features change. Even though I see them in person because I'm here with him, I like to see pictures. I'm a person that likes to capture the moment, and so I take lots of pictures of him. And even not just of him or with me or him with dad, I take pictures randomly, like if my mother and his Grammy, which is my mother-in-law, if she's playing with him, or if my mom's playing with him, or my brother, or my brothers, or my sister, or his tata, or my brother and sister-in-law, like his auntie
Tata
and
means
uncle.
grandpa.
And
some of you guys know.
Yeah, a lot of Mexicans call it grandpa, papa. But yeah, I like to capture a lot of stuff on pictures because I'll have them printed out one day, all the pictures I have. Not rich, but one day I'll have them all printed out so that if phones ever like get out, like the technology on phones or like advances more, we have pictures that we can rely on to like remember certain eras that we like lived in and stuff. And
He's definitely remember 2020.
and so yeah, we've watched our house turn into like a single like couple home to like definitely a baby lives here, right?
Wow.
Our home. Like from it just being a couple living here to a baby living here and
yeah, it's weird. It's kind of like when you watch a movie where you see like when you see Toy Story 3 and how you saw, or even 1, when Andy got Buzz and Woody saw how the room was evolving from cowboys to space rangers and all that stuff, and now you see, the house from little lovey quotes of "love is all you need" to in the corner you see baby toys, and now instead of the table, instead of the cupboard seeing spices for steaks, you see
baby
snacks
and like cookies for babies and everything I use, and the counter instead of just having the knives and stuff, I have my breastfeeding
instead of looking
stuff.
in the silverware, it's just your silverware now. It's just like baby spoons.
And definitely my pumps out in the kitchen, like put away. It's just like a baby. Next thing that we got to do is baby proof stuff. He is crawling now.
Well, he used to do army crawling.
Yes, he was army crawling. So Liam's milestones, he's hit them. So what it is that Liam was born at 34 weeks, right? So premature baby, 7 months. Baby's not born until they're 9 months. Their mom has to be like 38 to 40 weeks pregnant. And Liam, I was told that as a premature baby, like when they're toddlers and stuff, they don't really catch up to their actual age until they're 5 years old. So Liam hitting his milestone. So his gestational age right now, he will be turning 11 months. But from his birth date, he is a year. So, yeah. We definitely did a lot of stuff a little later, which is perfectly fine because he's still perfect. We did sit up. Normally, babies start sitting up about 4.5 to 5 months. Liam didn't fully sit up on his own until he was 6.5 to 7 months. He did the army crawl before crawling on all fours. He turned over at 5 months when they're supposed to turn over at like 3.5. He's been breastfed. I did go back to work when he was 3 months. My mom would watch him for me since 7:25 in the morning till I was working in Clover City, so that was a drive for me. So I was off at 3:15, but I wouldn't get home till about 5 o'clock because of the traffic. We live in LA, so I wouldn't get home till that time. So my mom would watch him since pretty much 7:30 in the morning till about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and I hated it because I just wanted to get home to my baby after work. But getting home to him was so nice because he just wanted to be with me, and we would breastfeed the rest of the afternoon. He would drink 3 bottles at my mom's house, and then my mom started feeding him like baby cereal when he was 4 months, just to see if he would like it, and he actually did. So that would last, like he would take like 3.5 to 4 hour naps at my mom's, which always surprised me because on the weekends, I don't know, he's just so smart. He knew like, okay, Monday through Friday I'm going with my nana, and then I'll be with my mom in the afternoon, and then the weekend I'll be with my mom for 2 days, so my naps won't be long. So his naps on the weekends are not long, and he just wanted to be breastfed all day long. which I didn't mind because I missed him throughout the week, and my days on the weekends were just him and being home. And yeah, we would still do skin to skin here at home. Dad would even do it. Yeah, watching him grow definitely was. It's been a pleasure, and it's exciting, and I'm all for milestones. So even if he hits them late, I always so happy when he's actually doing something. I'm always positively reinforcing him, telling him good job. And with the major that I graduated in, you're not only supposed to tell baby good job or no, don't do that. You're supposed to just, when you say that, explain to them like, good job for doing this, or like, good job for finishing all your bottle, or good job for latching, like you might not think they don't understand you, but they do. And even when we say no, like we're like, Liam, no, don't get close to that. You'll hit yourself. Liam, no, don't go over there. It's dangerous. Like you have to have an explanation to it, because if it's like, oh no, then they're just gonna be like, well, what are they saying no to? Like you might think that they don't understand, but they're gonna look at you like, why am I always getting told no, no, no? So you got to explain to them. So I'm always one to enforce that, even when I tell Jesse, when I hear him tell him, like, no, no, Liam, come over here. Like, tell him why you're telling him no. Or I'm always telling him, like, look, he's doing something. Like, applaud him, like, reinforce him. And he loves being reinforced. Like, he loves when he knows someone's looking at him. He'll smile and he'll do it again. And he understands Spanish, so he will be bilingual. Dad speaks only English, but we will teach you. He knows some. He knows some Spanish, but we'll teach him more to where he'll be able to tell Liam things in Spanish. My mom talks to him in Spanish, so from 3 months till 8 months that she watched him. Obviously, with the pandemic going on, I work for the school system, so I've been at home for almost 3 months with him, and I love it. I always wanted to be a stay-home mom, but I had to go work because I had to bring money in. Um, how do you call it? What was I saying? He
reinforcing positive, and telling him, explaining.
Oh, speaking Spanish.
Speaking Spanish.
I lost my train of thought. Yeah, my mom would speak to him in Spanish. Everything like from like soothing him to giving him his bottle to changing his diaper to like just everything that had to do with like communicating with him was always in Spanish. So he learned how to clap by you saying bravo. So if you tell him, Liam, clap, or Liam, clap your hands, like he won't do it. He'll look at you like, what are you saying? But if you tell him, yay, bravo, Liam, like he will smile and laugh and clap like crazy. And he knows Ben, like he knows a lot of Spanish like commands if you tell him stuff. And but I definitely like, since I've been home for 3 months, I try my hardest to talk Spanish to him. I usually just talk English, but I try to talk Spanish to him still. And when my mom does see him, she does talk to him in Spanish, just so that it doesn't get forgotten. It's definitely important, and I do want him to be bilingual. But yeah, watching him grow is it's just amazing. And if I could, and I know I have to because they're their grandparents, but if I could, guys, I would just keep Liam to me and Jesse. Like, I wouldn't want to share him with anyone.
Says it all the time.
Because that's my baby. He's my baby. He's my little baby.
Especially when people hold him and they have him on the
at
side,
him.
or they're holding him a certain way.
That's my baby. Like my number one pet peeve. Do not, if you're gonna hold him, don't spread his legs apart. Like I don't like that. That causes. I know I've said it to like other adults and they laugh because they're like, well, I always held my daughter like that. Like she only has one baby. Like I remember one of the teachers I worked with, she was like, oh, Eternity, you only have one baby so far. Wait till you have 2 or 3. At that point, you're going to try and get dinner done, and they're going to want to be on your hip, and you're just gonna have no choice but to just throw him on your hip and just keep doing what you're doing. And I was like, no, like that causes your kid to be pigeon-toed. I've read about it, and it was in my studies. And then she's like, well, yeah, my daughter was pigeon-toed when she started walking, but then got like outgrew it. And I was like, exactly. I don't want my son to be pigeon-toed when he starts to walk. So that's my biggest pet peeve. So I literally like remember at one time that we were
It was a
at
Super
like
Bowl party.
yeah, and we went and some girl was holding him and she like threw him on her hip, and I was like, babe, she spread his legs apart.
I said, you want me to go say something or go get him?
And I was like, no, wait, I'll call my mom. And I literally called my mom over, and I was like, Mom, she's not holding him right. She's like has his legs spread apart, and she's like putting him on her hip. And my mom already knew that's like my pet peeve, so she went. She was like, "Oh, I think the baby." I don't know what she told her. I'm pretty sure she's like, "Oh, let me see the baby," or like, "Oh, the baby. It's time for the baby to breastfeed or something." I don't remember, but my mom got him and she held him for a little bit and then gave him to me. I'm just so overprotective, and he's my baby. I mean, we're gonna raise him how we want to, and we're gonna discipline him and show him that it's not about wanting everything or getting everything, because he's the only grandson or the only child. But I remember me growing up, and I'm pretty sure for you it was the same. But you earn what you want instead of just it being given to you, or you save your own money to buy it for yourself. So yeah, I was never just given things just to be given, and I've seen kids who how they develop as they're growing that are just
and it's
given
an expectation.
Yeah, as they're just given everything and they're spoiled rotten and they're so rude, and I just don't agree with it. I don't. And I know Jesse like hears me and understands me, and I think he agrees with me.
I do.
And
It sucks because people that are grateful. It depends. In my opinion, there are some people that have wealthy lives and they learn or they were taught, they weren't given to them even though they were privileged and they had wealth. And then there are some people in this society where they have to experience not being able to get everything, not because they can't have it, but they can't afford it. And then when you're able to get it, it's like a treat. Like, and that's what we want to, teach Liam, that no,
we're not rich, we're not poor.
But when you do get it, you better treat it like it's $1 million.
Oh yeah.
And when it comes to him buying it for himself, because my biggest thing, I wish I would have been taught like this as a kid, because I think every kid, when we get money, the first thing we do is spend it. And I think for us,
$30 toy that is gonna break.
I think for us, it's gonna be once he gets his birthday, when it comes his birthday or Christmas, we'll take half so he could have money to spend, but the other half should go towards something like his car when he's 19, or being able to.
So that's it for now, guys, and we had a little interruption, but it's okay. We'll definitely come back and make another video, but we just wanted to share this little one to begin with, and sorry if it's like blurry or if it's a little too long. You guys don't have to stay watching it. I promise we're not going to be this long all the time, but it was just our first one, and there was a lot to say. And just thank you guys for listening. If you do watch it all the way, we appreciate you guys. Again, I'm not doing this YouTube channel to get subscribers, or definitely give it a thumbs up or whatever, but I'm not posting to see how many thumbs up I get or how many likes, comment, and subscribers I get. But I mean, I think we have a really amazing, fantastic, extraordinary, outstanding awesome, precious little angel that lights up a room when it's dark. And just want to share him and share our life with him. Um, Definitely want to do these vlogs and start, once this pandemic's over and, hopefully everyone's good and safe and, things start opening up. I think the first place I do want to take him is a zoo and record our visit there. Not our entire visit because I do want to enjoy being with him at the zoo, but definitely get his experience on camera. And yeah, like just do some vlogs and for a certain amount of time wherever we go, even if it's a day at his Grammy's house at the pool, or we're visiting Nana and there's my niece and nephew are there and they're playing with him, because he's gonna be walking soon. So that's gonna be a whole different story and everything he gets into and all the joys that come with the baby walking and everything having to be baby proof. So, yeah, thank you guys once again, and I hope that this becomes very fun for us to do. Um, Thank you guys again. He's sleeping, so yeah, this is Liam. So, thank you guys. Bye.